Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Can I invite you to this morning's Highways meeting? I'm Stu Morrison, and today I am actually the Vice Chair of the committee, but in the absence of our Chairman, I will be conducting proceedings today. I hope we can all see each other on the screen. I appreciate that today's meeting might be a little more different to what we've all been used to, but I hope we managed to get to grips with it. I have a number of officers assisting me today. I'll ask them to introduce themselves as they actually come to their items on the agenda. So if I quickly whip through the first few items on the agenda, item number 1 is apologies for absence.
Chairman, I'm Michael Turnbull, Senior Community Services Officer this morning. We've had apologies from Councillors Jean Chaplow and Jude Considine.
Do we have any substitute members?
Chair, there are no substitute members this morning.
Okay. And do we have any declarations of interest? I think that gaping silence is telling me no, we have no declarations of interest. I'll move on to item 4, which are the minutes of the meetings held on the 18th of February and the 6th of March. Could I have someone accept those as a true record, please?
Could I move the minutes, Chair, please?
Chair, I'll second them. It's Councillor Kate Hopper.
That's fine.
John Turnbull that moved them.
Thank you. In which case, can we move on to item 5, which is the substantive report that we're here to consider this morning. I will hand over to Dave Wafer, who's the Highways Officer, who will talk us through the report. After he's done that, I'll actually go through the report one section at a time, inviting comments on each section. And at that point, I will also invite the members of the public to speak. And can I just say we have no local members here today, so I will not need to invite any further speakers from outside of our committee. Okay, Dave, I'll hand straight over to you.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. As you said, my name is Dave Wafer. I'm the current interim head of transport for Drum County Council. I'm just going to share my screen, so hopefully you'll see something coming up there. Can somebody confirm that that's? I have a rotating wheel here. That doesn't look good.
It's on now.
It's on now, so can you see?
Dave, sorry, that's the wrong report.
Sorry about this. The technology is wonderful. It works right.
Sorry, Dave, that's the wrong slide also. Thank you.
Okay, sorry for that. Yeah. Okay, so what we'll do, as you're aware, Chair, we quite often look at parking restrictions and waiting restrictions on an area-wide basis, and that's what we've done in this particular occasion. So what we've done is we've looked at requests that we've got over preceding months across the Chesterley Street area, and that has led us to make changes in 6 different areas. And those areas that I'm going to take you through are Drum Industrial Estate, Wesley Terrace, Beverley Gardens, Weldon Terrace, Chesterley Street Cricket Club and Chesterley Street Marketplace. Just so you're aware, Chair, the last 3 of those have not had any objections and the first 3 have. What I'll do, I shall go through each one. I'll then stop sharing my screen and I'll come back to any slide that anybody wants me to. So starting out, as I said, there are the 6 locations which you should be able to see on your screen ahead of you. We have Drum Industrial Estate to the north, which comes off the main road, which goes back up to Concert. We have a restriction in Durham Marketplace. Wesley Terrace, which are very close to the town centre, next to Masonic Hall. Chesterley Street Cricket Club. This is not the Riverside. This is the smaller cricket ground in the town centre. Beverley Gardens, which is located next to a school, which will become apparent when we go through the presentation. And Weldon Terrace, which is just off the main Durham Road. So going through these in turn, the first is Drum Industrial Estate. And this came about, Chair, actually, if you look at the restrictions here, there are twofold. There is a no waiting restriction, which is just your standard double yellow lines for most of the estate, and a no waiting, no loading, which is the higher level restriction where you can't load and unload. And the restrictions came about actually from requests from the co-op and others to look at the junction, which is shown in blue on that plan. And that's where that started. We then consulted with those on the estate, with the Durham Business Forum, with the police and with local members. And from that sort of small request, the larger scheme came to the fore. So what we're proposing, Chair, is that we will go with the no waiting, no loading restriction on the junction. However, on the main spine road through the industrial estate, we'll have a no waiting restriction. So this is a standard double yellow line, means you can't park there, but you can load and unload. And that will be all the way down the eastern side of that spine road. On the western side, there will be double yellow lines wherever it is opposite a junction, or on the approach to the sharp bend at the bottom. Again, as you come back round to the A693, again, it's predominantly on the eastern side with a small section on the western side. And this is simply because we had lots of reports of people parking obstructively, causing problems, and there has been an accident history on the estate as well. As I said, we had actually 15 letters of support, and we had 1 letter of objection, and that has come from the cooperative building. It's a distribution centre, and I think their view is that all of the yellow lines are unnecessary, other than the restriction which is just at the junction shown in blue there, which also gives access to their premises. So there's again 1 objection from the co-op, all others in favour. On to Wesley Terrace. Again, it's probably better if I show that in an aerial photograph. Wesley Terrace, the main street through Chesterley Street is just to the right of the where the presentation is here. So we have, for those who know the area, we have the Masonic Hall, and we have Wesley Terrace itself. Wesley Terrace it's quite a confined area, quite popular for parking. We have terrace properties on one side. Recently, there's been a new access put into a new development, which is where the blue lines are there. And the proposal is that we put in a very small area of yellow lines, which is the yellow, and the blue is the no waiting, no loading. So again, this is the more restrictive parking where you're not allowed to park under any circumstances. And the reason is that we've had numerous reports of obstructive parking of that access. There's already a keep clear marking there, which is not adhered to. To try and mitigate this, we will also be putting in where people can park on either side of the junction. We'll be actually marking that out as bays, so that regularizes parking, so that actually more people can get parked there if they park in a more orderly fashion. So we'll be doing that at the same time. There's been 1 objection to this, and the objection has come from the Masonic Hall. They feel that overall the reduction in parking there will have a detrimental impact on the town centre. I think our view is that people shouldn't really be parking in that location anyway, because they're causing obstruction. The fact that we're putting in the double yellow lines and the no waiting, no loading restriction just makes it more obvious that people shouldn't be parked there. So they shouldn't be there anyway. And I think we can offset that by actually regularising the parking on Wesley Terrace in any event. So overall, there's 1 objection, and again, local members and police in support. Beverley Gardens, and I appreciate we have a speaker, so we'll probably come back to this item in due course. Again, I'll show that on an aerial photograph. So this is actually the rear access to a school. So a lot of parents, as you can imagine, will park in this area. This has been brought to our attention on a number of occasions, and we are concerned about safety in this area. Just to highlight the fact, where we have the green area here, there is already a waiting restriction, yellow lines around the inner edge of the green area. So by putting the school clear markings in, then we will be preventing parking over that entire length. And again, this is not unusual, as members of the committee will be aware. We quite frequently get issues around school gates, and we have to balance the combination of people coming to park with the safety of children coming in and out of the school. School keep clears are a fairly usual type of restriction in this sort of circumstance, and we feel that for the safety of people in that particular area, especially children coming out on foot, that we feel that cars should be kept away. It's important that actually people can walk safely to school, and that where we can take parking away from the school gate. Our view is that we certainly should. However, no doubt we'll come back to discuss this particular item. So just quickly going through the others which have no objections to them. Again, this is Wesley Terrace. This comes off the main Durham Road. It goes back towards the A167. You can see on the picture there are existing yellow lines coming round back to the sides of the building. This is a fairly sort of modest extension of those going further back to stop people parking in the vicinity of the junction itself. There is Chesterley Street Cricket Club. There's a very small car park which people do sometimes park where that car is shown there. What we're intending to do is introduce a loading bay, because if you're loading goods to the cricket club, then that's a natural place to park. If you park there, you're actually causing an obstruction as well. So again, that's a small loading bay going in for the benefit of the cricket club to stop people parking there. And again, there are no objections to that. And the final one, as members may be aware, there's quite a lot of work going on in Chesterley Street in the marketplace to actually open up the culvert, to change the road layout. So what we're doing, we're changing the parking restrictions, and these generally actually reflect the new road layout that's going on in that area. So it sort of complements what's currently going on with terms of the restrictions. And again, there are no objections to that, Chair. So I'll stop sharing my screen there, Chair, and answer any questions that anybody has.
Okay, thank you for that. Before I open the discussion, I do note, and apologies to our solicitor Neil Carter, who's actually sat there with a request to speak, which I've missed. Neil, do you need to say anything now?
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Chair. It was just to mention that obviously we're without our usual chairman, Councillor Kerr, today. You're obviously in the chair, and it may be worth therefore just nominating from the floor a vice chairman, just in case we need that.
Sounds like a very good idea. Thanks for keeping me right. Could I have nominations in case that my IT goes down for someone else to take charge of the meeting?
Chair, nominate Stuart Dunn.
Someone like to second that?
Second that, Chair. It's Olga.
Okay, thank you for that, Neil. Okay then, can we now move on to the meeting, and we'll take it one section at a time. I'll invite comments first of all on the first section, which was too many bits of paper. First section, sorry Dave, can you remind me which was the first section?
Yes, Chair, the first one is Drum Industrial Estate, and this is the restrictions on the eastern side. This is the double yellow lines going through Drum Industrial Estate.
Okay, do you have any comments, please? Is Councillor Ormond indicating he wishes to speak?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I think this is very much needed, particularly in the light of the sad death of a motorcyclist in that area, I believe. I know it's something that the businesses on the estate have been calling for a long time, so this is very welcome, Chair.
Do we have any other comments on that section of the agenda? No? Can we move on to the next section, please?
Chair, Councillor Dunn has requested to speak. Thank you.
Councillor Dunn?
Yeah, I used to live in Pelton, and I know this industrial estate and this bit of road very, very well. The frequency of HGVs moving up and down this road is considerable, and when there's something parked on it, to be faced with an HGV coming past another one is really, really quite intimidating. If anything, I'm a little bit disappointed that when you reach the top of the screen, it doesn't turn right and go all the way down to the Berkeley Road. But I agree with Councillor Ormerod, for safety, we shouldn't have HGVs deposited on this road or unloading on this road. And I very much support the proposals.
Do we have any other comments or questions? No. In that case, can I move on to Beverley Gardens? And at this point, I would like to invite Mr. Clough, who's joined us today, to speak on the particular item and to advise him that he has 3 minutes to speak to the committee. And I'm sure our admin officer will keep him right in that. Thanks.
Okay, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. You'll notice that there's one objection listed. I actually am speaking on behalf of the 30 residents who live in Beverley Gardens. A few background facts for you, in fact. As you probably see, if we could go back to page 31, that gives the aerial view of Beverley Gardens, perhaps I can explain some of the concerns that I have. I don't know, is that possible to bring that one up on screen again? Page 30. Yes, now, as you can see, the York Terrace comes down from Durham Road into a sharp right-hand bend, which then turns down into a left-hand, which goes down Beverley Gardens and comes round to the bottom, and then heads back up the other side. And where you're proposing the signs as such, that is where you're wanting to put your no waiting and stop signs there. Now, children who are coming to school in the morning come from the bottom end, the top right, should I say. They walk up past the left-hand side of the picture and then round and into the school where that entrance is. They also come down from the top left, but they're coming down in cars. It's always been a quiet area, and the majority of people who live here are in their 70s and 80s, apart from a younger couple who are perhaps in their late 30s. It also includes a man who is celebrating his 101st birthday, I think this next month. So access is basically needed for the likes of ambulances and whatever. But we find that on a morning what's happening is that parents are bringing their children down. They're parking outside residents' houses, and on the corner, that top left-hand corner where you see a white van, they're parking on there, albeit that there are double yellow lines there, and they're parking in front of the double yellow lines and coming round to where that red car is parked and parking all the way down. Now, children are coming up from the right-hand corner, where the little red mark is. They're coming up there on cycles and on scooters. They're also coming up the other side of the road towards the red car. And this blind corner on the left-hand side is causing great concern, and God forbid, but it's an accident waiting to happen the way people park there. As far as the ongoing situation is concerned, I love the fact that they're encouraging children to come to school to keep fit, coming on the bikes, on the scooters, on the skateboards and whatever, or even in a walk-in situation. But it's the people who come down and park where those yellow lines are, that you've indicated where the new signs are going. As you're aware, there's already double yellow lines on the other side of the road. And basically, my concern is the safety of the children, because sometimes if parents are late, they come scooting down York Terrace onto that corner. As I've already mentioned, it's a blind corner, and people are just parking willy-nilly there. And I have a picture here, if you've understood what I've said about the proposals there on that picture on page 30. I perhaps can show you a picture here that I took, which shows some of the concern. So I don't know whether you need to move back to another screen, or if I hold that up there, perhaps you can see in the bottom right-hand corner, well, you can see it now, children alighting there. And at the top end of the picture as well, you can see my concern with that blind corner, because people are just parking willy-nilly, as I say, opening the doors, letting the children out. If children are coming around in the scooters, well, as I said before, unfortunately, it looks to me like it's an accident waiting to happen. Basically, I have another picture here, which I don't know whether this will show up or not. It was taken through the window when I saw, I don't know if you can see the red car in the distance there beside the white van. It has actually tried to do a three-point turn on that blind corner. Now, children coming down from York Terrace or coming up either side of Beverley Gardens would have that to face. And as I say, it's a blind corner, and access, well, to the estate in the first.
1 minute remaining.
yeah, in the first place, is well, very, very limited. It has never been a through road as such. People are now treating it as a through road by coming down and round. You suggest that there's signs go up there that says no parking between 8 a.m. and 6 p.m. Now that'll stop all the residents parking there who want to come and visit, your friends of residents who want to come and visit. All I would suggest, apart from the fact that the only alternative for me really was that that school gate be closed. We were told it was only going to be used in the initial stages for the introduction of vehicles to cut the grass, etc., etc. Albeit that the gate is there now, I would suggest that if anything is to be put there, perhaps the sign is changed to no stopping between 8 o'clock in the morning till 9 and from 3 o'clock in the afternoon till 4. That to me would seem to make a little bit of sense if that is the only alternative. And as I say, not speaking for myself, I'm speaking on behalf of the 30 residents who live here.
Okay, Mr. Clough, thank you very much for your contribution. I have a number of councillors waiting to speak, but before I bring them in, I'm going to invite Dave Wafer to add anything to his initial recommendations.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Chair. I think just from those photographs, we probably both agree that there are issues to be addressed in this area. What we have, as we do at many schools really, is we have a mix of people trying to park, a mix, thankfully, of large numbers of children trying to walk, cycle to school. And it's how we manage the safety of that. So when we've been on site and inspect this ourselves with the police and tow as well, our view is that the most important thing is to try and take parking away from the area immediately adjacent to the path. The path remains open. It's an encouragement to walk to school really by having the path there. So that's a good thing. In some cases, yeah, I can say the attraction of trying to reduce the window by which the school keep clear markings are in place. But we do also get people wanting to visit the school and at lunch times. And also we're getting more and more requests, even as we speak, of schools staggering their hours. So trying to limit those starting and end times is becoming more and more difficult because more and more schools actually, because of the COVID situation, as they return in September, the amount of time over which parking restrictions may be necessary will be extended because schools are starting earlier, finishing later, and having staggered hours as well. So in this instance, at this time, I would prefer to keep the restrictions as long as possible. If later on the school comes down to a set hours, then I think we could perhaps have a look at that. But at this instance, we'd be keen to keep that restriction in as long as possible. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. For that, I've got Paul Sexton and Olga Milburn waiting to speak, but I'll take Councillor Sexton first, please.
Hi, thank you, Chair. Obviously, I'm very familiar with this area coming from Chester Street. I actually used to knock around there when I was a teenager, shall we say, so I know Beverley Gardens really well. Just on the point of the entrance there, which Mr. Clough touched on, I haven't been down there for many, many years, but I don't know how long that entrance has been there, but it wasn't there many moons ago and parking didn't seem to be an issue. So maybe there's a lesson learned there that entrance, the rear, because the other side of Beverley Gardens at the top of York Terrace is what you would call the main entrance to the school. In terms of it's not a thoroughfare. Mr. Clough's exactly right. It is this, if my memory serves me right, there's garages at the bottom, and it's a no-through road. So any cars coming in down York Terrace and in around Beverley Gardens have to go around the triangle to get back out. On the restrictions that are proposed to put in place, my only concern is I agree with the officer that we need to do something to alleviate this problem. But what will this current proposal do potentially to impact the residents? Will it impact them at all? It's not adjacent to the houses. I don't know, maybe Mr. Clough can come back on that, or Mr. Wafer, but that is really my only concern on that if we put a blanket approach across, then will it impact the residents having visitors on weekends, or is it Monday to Friday? Sorry if I haven't read it correctly.
Okay, I'll take Councillor Milburn's comments first, and then we'll come back to Dave to see if he has anything to add.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. Actually, it was just answered more or less by Paul. I was going to ask, why is this entrance so well used? I would have assumed that the school would have had an entrance somewhere else. Is it round at the top of the corner on York Terrace? Could you tell us that, Dave? Is the main entrance to the school around on the other side, and is this a back entrance? That's what it's.
Yeah, there are two entrances to the school. So this is a secondary entrance. So the main vehicular access is to the front. So this is obviously it's a popular area to drop off. It's also a popular area for people for children to walk in to cycle to the school because it is the rear access to the school as well.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Do we have any other comments or questions in respect of that?
If I may, Chair, just to come back to Councillor Sexton's point, it isn't the restriction isn't next to the residential properties, but obviously if people were wanting to visit during the week, it would potentially, if there are no other parking spaces in the area, it would have some detriment. But our view is that on balance, there are parking spaces in the wider area that people who are visiting could actually use.
Could I come back on something there?
I'm afraid you can't, Mr. Clough. You've had your 3 minutes, so thank you very much for your contribution. Okay, we move on to the next section of the agenda, which is Wesley Terrace. Do we have any comments or questions in respect of this part of the agenda? No, in that case, I'll move on to the Chesley Street Cricket Club. And I don't see any requests to speak. No. In that case, I'll move on to the final section of the agenda, which is Marketplace.
Chair, I think Councillor Sexton wishes to speak.
Councillor Sexton, do you wish to speak?
Yes, sorry. Just on the cricket car park, I just need to seek some advice from the officers, please, on my participation in any vote.
Could you explain the circumstances, please, and then we can give you
Yeah,
some
I don't think it is a problem. It's just that I was contacted by the cricket club initially way back when as to who to speak to put forward a proposal. There was no detail in the proposal, so I didn't know what it was about, and I just put the two parties together. I'm just wanting to be absolutely transparent, so I know nothing about it other than they asked who to speak in Highways, and I put them in contact with I think Dave Lewin, and I know more about it other than till now. So I don't know if that excludes me from that element or not.
Okay, could I ask Neil Carter to give his opinion on that, please?
Thank you, Chair. The answer is no. Councillor Sexton doesn't need to declare an interest on that. He can still participate. Essentially, all he's done is given the parties some procedural advice. You know who to contact within the council. That's absolutely fine.
Okay. That's fine then. Can we then move on to Marketplace? Do we have any questions or comments in respect of that section of the agenda? No? Okay then, well, can we move on then to the officer's recommendation? Is there someone there who would like to actually approve the report as it stands?
Chair, I'll move the recommendations. Yeah. Councillor Kate Hopper.
Okay. Do we have a seconder, please?
I'll second them, Chair. It's Olga Milburn.
Chair, Councillor Shuttleworth wishes to speak.
I did have, thank you, Chairman. I did have my RTS in before you made that recommendation, but I was going to say, if we are going to recommend these all for approval, can it be the proviso that to appease folks in Beverley Gardens, that we review that situation in, say, 9 months' time, given the COVID situation? I accept what Dave says about schools and the park in there, but I think we need to look at that again just to try and help the residents there. Is that possible, Dave?
Yes, that's not a problem. We'll go back out and we'll talk to the residents once the restrictions have gone in place.
Yeah, cheers, Jeff.
We can come back to committee in 9 months, as you've suggested. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay then, subject to that, we appear to have a nomination and a seconder for that particular item of the agenda. Can we now go to the vote? Now, I think this might be a bit more complicated than usual, so would Michael next explain to us how we're proposing to record this vote?
Chair, if I can just hand over to Neil Carter, who will take us through this procedure, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.
Yes, thank you, Chair. What I propose to do is essentially do a roll call. So I'll go through all the members and ask them if they're voting for or against or abstaining. So I'll start with Councillor David Bell.
For.
Thank you. Next, Councillor Stuart Dunn.
For.
Councillor Derek Hicks.
For, with the proposal that John said about going back to the residents in Beverley Gardens in a few months' time.
Thank you. Councillor Kate Hopper. Councillor Hopper, I think you've got your microphone muted.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Stephen Hugel.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Karen Liddle.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Olga Milburn.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Richard Ormerod.
For.
Thank you. Councillor James Rowlandson.
For.
Thank you. Councillor Paul Sexton.
For, with John's recommendation, obviously, as well. Thanks.
Yeah. Councillor John Shuttleworth.
For, Neil. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Councillor Arnold Simpson. Councillor Simpson, are you with us?
For.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Councillor Kevin Thompson.
For.
Thank you. Councillor John Turnbull.
For.
Thank you. And Councillor Marion Wilson.
For.
Thank you. Chair, that's unanimous.
Okay, thank you very much for that. That's great. Okay, then we'll now move on to the final item of the agenda, which is any other items of business. I can advise you that I've not been notified of any, and as such, I will thank you all for your contributions this morning and close the meeting.
Thank you.